Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming, and of course welcome to Diablo 4's first season, the season of the Malignant. The new Malignant Hearts that we are finding by defeating these new Malignant enemies, caging them and equipping to our actual jewelry for new powerful effects. The three main types that you'll be getting while you're leveling are of course the Vicious, the Brutal and finally the Devious. But what we all care about, what we all want, are the Wrathful, single slot, incredibly powerful, most powerful options. And chances are, while you're leveling, you're completing the seasonal journey, you're completing the new campaign, and you're working your way to being able to consistently get your source of Wrathfuls. But the problem with that is that you'll need to have completed at least chapter 3, which kinda requires you to be level 45 or higher, considering some of the requests, including the moderate upgrade to your potion, which again is level 45 or higher. What if, like me, you were able to get your Wrathful Hearts much sooner than that for their incredible powers? What if I could tell you that there's actually a specific Malignant Tunnel you can go to, perform a quick route that takes only like say a minute, and constantly re-roll the chance to spawn a Wrathful enemy and therefore get a Wrathful Heart? This is exactly what we're talking about today, this method, so let's just get into it. Pretty much from the get-go, as you complete the story, you can open your map and see new dungeons with a new icon as shown by this sort of light blue or green leaf. These are the new Malignant Tunnels that have the Malignant enemies in it in a sort of consistent, guaranteed way. However, as you enter different dungeons, different Malignant Tunnels, you will have different objectives. Of the 6 tunnels we can do, 2 of them have the ideal objective for what we're trying to do, which is max farm Wrathful Hearts. In particular though, this one, the Ravening or Ravening Pit, not only does this have the Slay 2 Elites thing, which is perfect for us, but it's also a very good time to XP dungeon in general for these Malignant Tunnels, so we're really doubling up ideally with this specific Malignant Tunnel. The Ravening Pit Malignant Tunnel you can find southwest of Kiovo in the Dry Steppes. One of the nearest waypoints is Durandai, or you could go from the Hidden Overlook. It's pretty much between the two of them, just here. Here's how it works. We enter the tunnel and we walk our way through it. The first area requires you, before you can progress, to defeat 2 elites, 2 named elites. But there's actually 3 total in this starting area. Each one of these elites can be any of the 3, right? Vicious, Brutal, or whatever. But as we enter the dungeon, there's basically that RNG chance that one of them, or even potentially more of them, will actually spawn as a Wrathful. And all we have to do is find them and defeat them, right? So for the absolute best heart to ratio for farming Wrathfuls, or farming hearts in general to be honest, you'll simply enter and run around the entire circle, the sort of starting area of this tunnel, searching for all 3 elites. 2 will be shown on your map or mini-map as skulls, the other is just kind of an extra elite that won't, so make sure you do spot it. And it'll just say the name of the enemy, and then it'll say like Vicious or Wrathful ideally before it, and then you'll know. So running around the dungeon, running around the tunnel until you've seen all 3 and checked whether any of them have actually spawned as Wrathful, and if not, you will simply leave the dungeon. To do this at an optimal rate, honestly, it's best to just do it and die, especially if you're doing this in, say, World Tier 3, like I have been doing a bit while under-leveled. You can die very quickly, and then you respawn, you're no longer in combat, then you can leave the dungeon really quickly, which at that point you can pull up your map, pull out the journal, and then you have the reset button at the bottom right. When you press this, you can actually reset all dungeons and press accept, instead of having to exit and leave the game and reset, and that's wonderful. If you're using this method, then you're going to be resetting the dungeon and running and trying to respawn the Wrathfuls so much faster than logging out and in. However, unfortunately, this is Blizzard we're talking about, and patch 1.1 and season 1's launch is absolutely full of delightful bugs, including the fact that sometimes this reset dungeon button just won't work at all. This happened to me multiple times during this process, so I expect it will happen to you, so I'm warning you. Basically, if that bug happens to you, I don't have a guaranteed fix, but I will say that swapping from World Tier 2 to 3 or 3 to 2 did occasionally make it work again. But ultimately, if you do get the bug where you can't reset your dungeons through the dungeon reset button, then you're gonna have to do it the old way. It does mean logging in and out over and over at the end of the dungeon, which sucks. Either way, get yourself into that Malignant Tunnel, search for the elites, see if a Wrathful spawned. If not, leave the dungeon, reset the dungeon, whether you're using the journal reset or logging in and out, and then enter the dungeon again, searching again to see if they've spawned. You want to be as efficient at this as possible, which means not killing mobs on the way, not picking up loot on the way, purely running, teleporting, dashing, movement speed, whatever you've got to see if you can spot the Wrathfuls that have spawned. It won't take long as you continuously roll the numbers for you to actually see one. I found one easily within 5 minutes. Josh, for example, had a great spree where he saw 2 in 10 minutes, which is pretty decent. Considering these are the strongest things you can get and you need at least 1 in your build, being able to get 2 in 10 minutes is incredible, especially when we've not even locked like crafting or specifically invoking Wrathfuls yet. As you can see, it's very simple and easy to do, and I've actually gathered myself 3 Wrathful Hearts in a short time just to make this video, 2 of which came from World Tier 2, and 1 of them came from World Tier 3. Some additional info then about Malignant Hearts, just for you guys to have that, is that there is indeed different levels of Malignant Hearts, much like items. You can find normal, rare items, you can find sacred, and you can find ancestral, depending on your world tier. Malignant Hearts are the same. As we are playing in World Tier 1 and 2, you will find sort of the smallest pool of the Malignant Hearts, including Wrathful or whatever. As you enter World Tier 3, now you have a greater pool of all of them, actually being able to access more of them, and logically meaning the better ones are going to be found in the higher tiers. This happens again, just like you'd expect in World Tier 4, where now you have access to the final ones and often the very best ones. So naturally, doing this in the highest world tier possible, whether that's 2, 3, or 4, is long-term the aim, but if you do not have a Wrathful Heart, this is at least a guaranteed, super simple, very straightforward way for you to go get at least a Wrathful Heart for your initial leveling, even if you're like level 20 or whatever. All you really need to have done is the actual campaign, the main story, to the point where you can cage a heart and therefore start socketing them, which is very early. We should all have that by now. On that note, there's also another really important detail to be aware of when it comes to the hearts and their powers. Here are 5 different Pakana hearts that I have, and as you can see, this one has rolled 136 potential lightning damage when it procs, but this one can do 300, so you know that's more than double. That is because of the item power of the heart. As you can see, this is 329, so much lower than the 472, which is providing a higher number. This doesn't apply to all hearts. For example, the sacrilegious hearts here give me a nerfed corpse skill or corpse explosion damage based on the roll, and as you can see, a lower roll on this is going to be better, but it doesn't really matter what item power it is. It just rolls the number and that's it. It's kind of set in stone. So some hearts are tied to the actual item power of the heart to get most out of the number that it's providing. Usually this is based on how much damage it will deal, much like aspects work, versus ones that don't matter and ignore item power completely are tied to like set hardcore percent numbers, whether it's additive or multipliers. If you find yourself then with a bunch of hearts that are just something you're never ever going to use, such as this really low roll Pakana where the item power is just so low now for me, you can come to the workbench in Kyovo or the one as part of the main story and go to the salvage tab. Then you can salvage it for a bit of the materials tied to our new crafting systems. Or you could vendor them, but I would not recommend that. As you can see, their sell value is 1, which is hilarious for all of them when, you know, we consider these are taking up inventory slots. And a major quality of life change we were hoping for were things to get cheaper, or we could make more money in regards to, you know, respecking and doing different loadouts. But no, they're 1 gold each. So dismantle them. But there you have it. That is my quick overview on how to farm Malignant Hearts as effectively and efficiently as possible, and specifically how to get your own Wrathful Hearts even in World Tier 2 or 1 before unlocking invoking Wrathful Hearts or crafting them anyway. So I hope this has helped you. If you have any bonus tips for Malignant Hearts or Wrathful Heart farming yourself, you can drop it in the comments. Maybe you'll help someone. But for now, I've been Hollow, you've been you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.